Hey everyone, Ryan with Miss.Geek here. Tonight doing something completely different, putting the miscellaneous back in Miss.Geek. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and I've been wanting to play it for a while now, and I just recently finished an upgrade that lets me do that. And if anybody's curious, I went from an AMD Ryzen 5 1400 to a Ryzen 5 5500, way faster. And cheap, $100. It's like a D-rated version of their flagship, the 5600X or the 5600. Just a little less L3 cache. I think half the L3 cache, and slightly slower clock rate. I think way faster than the one I had before. I'm running 48 gigs of RAM, which I just love having lots of RAM. And then the video card is a RTX 3050 that I got last year, and it runs Flight Sim beautifully. I went and got the 40th anniversary edition. It's like $120, but I've been playing flight sims for 30 years, more than 30 years, probably closer to 33 years, 32, 33, somewhere in there. Started on Microsoft Flight Simulator 4, FS4, on a 286, and young Ryan dreamed of this level. So what we're looking at here is a landing challenge. It's at St. Barts, with St. Bartholomew's in the Bahamas or something. I forget where it's at exactly, but it's a really challenging landing, and this is a landing challenge. Now, I just hit my highest score. And by the way, I just started playing this less than 48 hours ago. I've got a hands-on throttle and stick, Thrustmaster. What is this? Thrustmaster or something. Anyway, and it works fine, although I do intend to upgrade to a flight yoke with throttles and rudder pedals. I'm going to take flight simming a bit more seriously now that I can. So I thought I would show you what this is. So in this, if you've never seen Flight Simulator before, this is a landing challenge where you've got a target on the runway to land at. And in this particular scenario, St. Bart's is an extremely difficult approach because there's a huge hill directly in front of the runway. And in fact, if you go look up St. Bart's landings on YouTube, you'll see real aircraft landing there. So you can see you get scored for landing precision, like how forward and back you land from the target, how wide you vary from the target left to right, and then how hard your landing is. So the real trick here is the smooth landing, because the smoother you hit the runway, the more it multiplies your other scores. So you can actually do not so great. Now the highest scores are almost a perfect 2 million, and I would love to get to that point. But I just hit my highest, which was 1.468 million, and before that it was 1.432. So I've just been kind of playing this all weekend. I love these scenarios, and on the FSX, the previous version, I used to play the different scenarios all the time. In fact, I would even make up my own scenarios, where like there was this crazy runway with this crazy airport with in a sink, like with hills surrounding it, and I was like in a Cessna 208, extremely overloaded in rain and wind, and if I played it right, I could clear the hill by a few feet. So this is kind of a preset version of something like that. So I'm just going to hit restart here, and I'll show you the flight and what it looks like. So there's this big giant hill, and I'm just going to hit fly here. And so let's see here. There's the target that I've got to hit, that blue spot, and there it is. And there's this giant hill that I've got to avoid hitting. And that's the airplane I'll be flying, which is a TBM 930. So let's give it a shot. First thing to do, we're start over the ocean and go and get some audio going here. First thing is going to drop the gear and get flaps and start the turn toward the runway, toward the airport. Throttle back, slow down, and my goal is to start the approach, the final approach, at about 700 feet, about 90 knots. And what I found that that gives you enough airspeed that you can flare and get a nice soft landing. But I'm not necessarily good at it. So anyway, let's see what happens. This is also a big improvement over FSX. Being able to hit my hat button on the joystick and on the flight yoke, or the flight stick, and get a better view for landing. That's actually pretty big deal. Alright, I'm going to stop talking and just fly the aircraft, and we'll see what happens. Is right over my nose there. Beta thrust action going, and we'll see how I did. There we go. And hold the brake so I don't deviate from the center line as much as possible. 1.2. So that's not my highest, obviously, but it's a good score. But if we look at the leaderboards here, let's see. So if my landing smoothness had been better, I could have scored much higher, but I was at 266 feet per minute, and my last one was 168, I think. So I could have gotten a lot more multiplier and gotten a much higher score. But anyway, that's what it is, and I just thought I would show you this because it's something that I've been playing with. And this particular one, if we go back to it, it shows here the world top 10, 1.986 million is the top. And I see this one, this Quest 4863, they're on the top of pretty much all of them. Now, if you go to my position, Geocrasher 2186, it shows my latest score, 1468, 107. So I don't know where that ranks, probably in the thousands. But that's okay with me. If you want to see another one, just finish watching. I'm actually going to fly one more here. This one I have not figured out really well, but there's this one in Nepal that is pretty cool. And my highest score so far is just over 1 million. So this one's flying the Cessna 208, which is a pretty different aircraft, a fixed gear turboprop aircraft, and flies very differently. Lands a lot slower and whatnot, but this is very challenging. So yeah, let's give it a try. My high score so far is just over 1 million. So I'm gonna come in here and well, you can see it shows the wind and everything too, which is cool. Flaps, and really got to increase the throttle at a high altitude here. This is up by Mount Everest is where this scenario is, and so got to keep the throttle on up because the air is fairly thin. We're at 10,000 feet and we're landing, so got to keep the throttle on or it just doesn't work that well. It kind of falls out of the sky. So this is the kind of stuff that when I was a kid, 14 years old, playing Flight Sim 4 at less than 10 frames per second with really bad graphics, this is the kind of thing I absolutely dreamed of. So if you look in the bottom right corner there, way down right here, you can see the airstrip down here in my right quadrant. So I'm going to try to line up with it, get a nice long final, nice stabilized approach, and see what happens. I want to land not too fast, but I've got to have enough speed for a decent flare. Otherwise, you just hit really hard. I mean, and they're all, any landing you don't crash is a good landing, but it's, you really want to grease it in for the challenge. And by the way, this is my way of expressing my desire to fly aircraft for real. I'm not at a point where I can really afford to do that to get my pilot's license. Someday maybe, but this is a great way to have fun without breaking the bank. Not to say it's super cheap, but it's definitely. I mean, I can get fully set up for the price of one flight lesson. So it seems like a good deal to me. I don't think this landing is going to be good at all. Maybe. I added power there at the end. That might have helped. We'll find out. Yeah, not my best. Anyway, thanks for flying with me, having some fun. If you're into this kind of thing, you can totally subscribe if this is your thing, if you're watching. And please, if this isn't your thing, don't unsubscribe. I'm going to do more of this, of other stuff that I'm known for. But I thought you might be fun to bring you along for this. This is something I truly, truly enjoy. Anyway, thanks for watching.